Hello there, math students. I hope you're doing well. The last lesson we did was solving quadratic equations by factoring. And today I'm going to show you a different way to do this using the quadratic formula. So let's say if we have an equation like this, x squared plus 7x plus 3 equals 0. Well, if we look at this actually cannot be factored, but that doesn't mean that it's not a quadratic equation. It is because it has an x squared term. So it must be factorable. It just can't be factored with whole numbers. So what we do in this case is we can use the quadratic formula. And so the quadratic formula is our x values will equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This is a very powerful equation because you can use it with any quadratic formula. It doesn't matter if it can be factored or not. And the nice thing is it always works. Um, and I will show you how to use it in some examples. So let's go to that example that we just had, x squared plus 7x plus 3. Well, remember, here's the quadratic equation. So our x values, remember when you're solving an equation, you're finding the x values that will make this true, that will make this equation 0. Okay, and this helps us find that relatively easily. Now, remember, we have our regular standard equation is ax squared plus bx plus c. So notice this is in that form. It's in standard form. So what we're going to do to use this equation, you're going to replace these letters in the equation with the associated numbers in the equation. So for example, here, our a is 1, our b is 7, and our c is 3. So every time you see a, you're going to replace that with 1. All the b's are going to become 7s, and c is going to become 3. So this should be our equation. So our b's became 7s, our a's become 1s, and our c's became 3s. And once we have those numbers plugged in, we can basically do all the math and the algebra to simplify this. Now, you might notice that this equation has a plus or minus in it, which means it can give us two different answers, one where we use the plus and the other one where we use the minus. And that's how we get two answers out of this one equation. So let's clean this up a little bit. So I like to clean up what's under the square root sign first. So 7 squared is 49, and negative 4 times 1 is negative 4, and negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. So just be careful with this sign that you're taking that negative into account there. So this gives us negative 7 plus or minus square root of 49 minus 12. And then on the bottom, 2 times 1 is 2. So I clean that up as well. So let's combine these terms under the root. So 49 minus 12 is 37. Now, you might notice here, we can't really reduce anymore. 7 can't be evenly divided by 2, and square root of 37 is like 6 point something, so it becomes a little weird. So, and you don't want to divide that by 2. So you can leave it in this form for your two answers. So for example, your two answers for this one is this equation, you just use the plus sign, and the same equation, but you're just using the minus sign. So our two zeros or two x-intercepts, our two solutions, will be minus 7 plus square root of 37, all divided by 2. And on the other side, it'll be negative 7 minus square root of 37 divided by 2. Now, you'll see in the practice questions that some of the solutions are in this form. That's why I wanted to leave it in this form for you on the first example. The next examples, we're going to take this a little further and actually calculate it down to 2 decimal places. Okay, so here's another practice question. So let's say we have 3x squared minus 18x minus 10 equals 0. Okay, so if you remember our quadratic equation, it's b plus or minus, sorry, it's negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So all of my a's are going to be 3's. All of my b's are going to be negative 18. So that's why this one's positive 18, because remember it's negative b. So negative of a negative becomes positive 18, negative 18 here. And then our C is negative 10. So remember to take the signs in front of the numbers with them when you put them in this equation. So now we're going to clean up these numbers a little bit. So negative 18 squares is 324. And if you do negative 4 times 3, that's negative 12. Negative 12 times negative 10 is 120. And then on the bottom, 2 times 3 is 6. So now, last step here, we're going to add those together. And that comes to 444. So our equation is 18 plus or minus square root of 444 divided by 6. Now, it asks us to round this to 2 decimal places. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what that square root of 444 is. Well, if you put that into your calculator, square root of 444 is 444 square root 21.07 is the square root of 44. So to find your two solutions, you're going to do 18 plus 21.07 and then divide that by 6, which will give you 6.51. And then the second solution is using the same equation, but using the minus sign. So 18 minus 21.07, and then divide that by 6, you'll get negative 0.51. You can check this in Desmos. So if I graph this in Desmos, the parabola was quite large, but I'm just showing you the axis so you can see that, yes, in fact, our zeros are here. Okay, so that's how you do it with these. I'm going to do one more just so you can follow along. So here we have negative 4x squared minus 16x plus 2 equals 0. So our b values are negative 16. Remember, this is negative b, so negative 16 is positive 16. Our a's are negative 4, and our c is 2. Once we have those numbers in place, we can calculate them up to make them a little more manageable. So negative 16 squares is positive 256. And negative 4 times negative 4 is 16 times 2 is 32. And then 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. So our equation is 16 plus or minus square root of 256 plus 32. So we're going to add those numbers, which is 288. So once you find the square root of 288, it's 16.97, and so we can plop that into our two solution equations. So 16 plus 16.97 divided by negative 8 gives us negative 4.12. And the other one, we use the negative sign, we get 0.12. So the key in using this equation is to make sure you're taking the signs that are in front of the numbers, the coefficients, and be very careful with all the negative signs in here, okay? Just make sure that you could check it in Desmos to make sure that it works. So if we check this one in Desmos, there was a bunch of negative signs, so let's check it. And yes, indeed, we do get the same zeros, which is fantastic. So For practice today, you're going to go to day 9 of cycle 3 practice booklet. There are 3 pages. The first 2 pages are puzzles. So if you do it correctly, you should be able to tell from the answer that done it right. And the answers for the third page is just a bunch of questions that you can do. There's a lot of them. You don't have to do all of them, but do them until you're comfortable. But the answers are provided for those. Once you're feeling comfortable with that, you could go to 3.6 quiz on Brightspace and give it a try. Okay, that's it for today's lesson. Again, as always, please let me know if you have any questions using the envelope icon at the top right corner in Brightspace. Talk to you next time.